Hello everybody, in this video I'm talking about some updated information regarding damage reduction and elemental damage in Diablo 4. And this is as of the Diablo 4 developer update livestream that took place today on February 28th. Some interesting information, so let's dive into it. Now this is different from Diablo 3. So in Diablo 4, they wanted to make sure that players who maybe decide not to invest in resistance, elemental resistance, won't be get shot, for example, for a boss to just deal shadow damage when they don't have resistance, whether other who do have resistance will be easier for them, but they can just get one shot from a boss. They actually mention a boss that only deals shadow damage and he can just one-shot players who don't have that resistance. So now in Diablo 4, if you have physical resistance, physical damage resistance, you'll also get elemental resistance as well, or basically it's gonna cover all the non-physical damage altogether. All right, so again, it doesn't reduce the physical damage resistance, but you get 50% of that value of the physical damage as non-physical damage, and that covers all the different non-physical damage, including, for example, shadow, fire, and so on. So for example, if you get hit by fire, lightning, cold, poison, shadow, and you don't have elemental resistance of some sort, you're still going to be protected because if you already have physical damage resistance from your armor. Or any way that allows you to get more physical damage resistance. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't focus on getting elemental resistance, because they mentioned that if you get a higher world tiers, you're going to have penalty to the elemental resistance. For example, in world tier 1 to 3, you're going to get 20% less resistance. This actually encourages players to invest in more resistance to survive those worlds. And if you get, for example, to world tier 3 to 4, you're going to have 40% penalty. And the reason you want to do these walls because they're more rewarding. They give you more XP, better drops, but going to be more challenging for you as well. And this is just an example. As you can see, world tier 2 to 3, 20% non-physical resistance reduction, and tier 4 and 5, 40% non-physical resistance reduction. Now, although the resistance scales linearly compared to the physical damage reduction that you have, so you get, again, damage reduction as well when you scale up linearly the physical damage resistance. As you can see here, the damage reduction, this is again a chart posted on the official stream. Damage reductions from expected armor. You can see the level at the bottom, and you can see that when you start, it goes up pretty fast, but as you get to the higher level, it actually becomes much less, and you get much less damage reduction. So basically, the higher level you are, the less damage reduction you can expect to get from higher tier gear. And this is very important for basically just balancing the game, right? You need to make sure that players won't get to a situation where if it actually was linear and you can just continue and getting to, very high damage reduction, the game was challenging, right? But basically they are balancing it and getting it to a point and you get to 40%, and even if you get higher, you're going to get little by little. So it's kind of more will maximize itself from the armor, for the expected damage reduction from the armor, around the 40% when you get to very high levels, you can see. So the next one shows you how much damage reduction you get per point of armor that you get from your gear regarding in relation to the player level. So as you can see here, the higher level you are, the less damage reduction you get for a specific armor, or more precisely per armor point on your gear. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that you're gonna gate it just from the armor. The reason they did it and they mentioned on the stream is because they want players to get other ways to actually mitigate damage from other sources, right? Rather than rely only on the armor that you get from the gear. And the other reason, by the way, they also mentioned is because they don't want players to try to get, damage reduction fast and then just forget about damage reduction for the rest of the game. So it already be something that you need to, focus on, get, and make sure that, you are not behind as you progress. So you need to give this basically attention It's not something you're going to get early on and then focus on everything else. It always should be on your mind to make sure you mitigate damage. Otherwise, well, you can get wrecked, basically. Again, it's also the reason why they actually made penalties for the world tiers, because they wanted to players to always try to look for more ways to increase resistance in order to survive. All right, it's not just the damage you're going to focus on, you're going to focus also on trying to make sure you are durable enough to sustain the difficulties for higher tier worlds. Now, this chart is actually very interesting. Basically, it shows you if you have 2000 armor damage reduction, how much damage reduction you get to different type of enemy levels. So at the bottom, you can see attacker level. Basically, it's a level of the enemy. And basically, the higher that level of the enemy, the less damage you actually observe. Now we can see that the damage reduction is capped at 85%, and basically you want to find other ways to mitigate damage. For the Sorcerer, you can have Energy Shield. For the Druid and Barbarian, Fortified Power. For the Rogue, you want to invest in having higher dodge chance, so you reduce the chance you actually get hit. And basically you're going to find those again in the skill tree, item affixes, the Paragon system, ways to actually try to mitigate more damage so you can survive those tough challenges in the world. So basically, if you think, let's go and just try a high level boss, for example, in the beta, there's a Sheva world boss, this is going to be level 25, and if you're going to go low level, not that you're going to get more damage, again, more damage actually will be able to penetrate through your damage reduction capabilities. And if you want to have a chance to survive that, well, you need to invest in different ways in order to increase your damage reduction. Now, the developer did mention that, again, during the campaign, the enemies will scale with your level. So basically, it won't be like super challenging. But when it comes to in-game, of course, you need to farm and find ways to carefully also create a good build that also focus on damage mitigation, and of course farm to get new items in order to be able to survive these worlds. Basically, again, this is kind of the game loop of trying again to level up, get better items, try out harder challenges. I mean, that's the fun of actually playing a Diablo game. And keep in mind, most of the things are actually related to just that. When you find stronger enemies, you need to survive, you need to find ways to, well, tackle that. You can do this by creating very strong builds, going to the skill tree, trying to find the right balance to, to be able to become strong. Try to maybe, have more damage to eliminate enemies faster. Try to maximize your durability. Try to involve a certain playstyle with your character in order to survive. Mainly all those things are actually the things that when you dive into a Diablo game and you have a challenge, you try to solve it. So of course, getting into that point where your damage reduction is lacking, players need to find ways to, just find a workaround. Now, the next one is actually quite funny. Basically, in the stream, they talk about usually, when you have monsters, the damage that you deal, the damage that you do with the character, that's the damage that the monster gonna get. But in Diablo 4, they changed things, and now they give damage mitigation to monsters. So the higher the monster, basically the more damage mitigation it's going to have. The reason, by the way, they want to do it for several reasons. Of course, one of the reasons is actually they don't want to see huge numbers like billions and trillions and of damage on the screen, because again, it takes a big chunk of the screen. That's what they mention. Then also, the only way for them to actually increase the time to kill for high tier enemies was actually just increasing the HP, the health points. And I mean, that's why you get enemies that have lots of HP and you need to do lots of crazy amount of damage that get to the billions, just to be able to take the enemy in a relatively, reasonable time. But that's not what they wanted. So the way to change that is to actually apply damage mitigation to monsters. Now you're going to say, but wait, I'm going to increase my damage and I'm going to deal less damage. Well, that was the problem as well. So no, of course it's going to be in a ratio, which is still going to deal damage, but that's the way to actually control it. So that you won't see like a monster with trillions of damage and you see huge numbers on the screen. So of course they are balancing, so it won't get into a situation like that where you say, all right, I'm going to level up, but the damage mitigation actually won't allow me to actually deal more damage. So of course, it's not going to be like that. They're going to balance things out, but that's the way for them to keep the numbers on the screen down and the HP numbers of the monsters, while actually giving monsters damage mitigation as well. Of course, it won't be significant early on, but as you continue to level up and higher tier worlds, you're going to find that monsters there will have higher damage mitigation. Anyway, basically it's very interesting stuff, the way they actually take damage reduction and apply it, and the way they scale it and the way they balance the game. So it's going to be something, some of the things are new to a Diablo game in general, and overall I think they're doing a really great job, and I can't wait to try it myself and see actually how it feels during the game. And that's about it. This is kind of a summary from what they shared regarding damage reduction in the latest stream, and I hope you find this one useful. If you have any question, let me know in the comment section below. If you think that I missed something or got something a bit wrong, let me know in the comment section below. And again, thanks for watching, everybody. Consider subscribing to my channel maybe. See you on the next one. Cheers.